right. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the world's most exciting classroom. My name is Joe Grabowski, and I'll be your host for today. This will be our last event of 2024 before we take probably a 2-week pause while classrooms are out on vacation, and then we'll reconnect with the Oosterschelde and the DARWIN200 team as we are sailing across the Pacific Ocean. So I think the best thing to do is to show you where in the world we are right now. Here we go. Let's share my screen here and I will show you where we are. So if you ever want to look at this map, DARWIN200.com, the map is available for anybody to check out at any time. You can see what's going on. And here it is. This is where we are in the world. You can see just a few short days ago, if I zoom in, we were in Hobart in Tasmania. And then we had crazy good sailing conditions and wind because we have already crossed the entire Tasman Sea, and the ship has just arrived in a spot called Bluff, and that is on the southern island of New Zealand. And there they have to have their passports checked to be given permission to enter the country. Then the ship is going to sail to Christchurch, and that is where we'll have our next little break. The ship should be there for Christmas. New passengers will come on board. And then look at this journey we have coming up. A massive chunk of ocean all the way across the Pacific, pretty close to Antarctica here, around the Horn of South America, and then back to the Falkland Islands, where hopefully we'll have some cool events out in the field when we get to the Falklands. If I go all the way back across here, this is going to take 7 weeks. These are some of the roughest sailing waters on the planet. So the crew and the passengers on board are going to be in for a very challenging, but probably a really rewarding sail. I think it'll be busy, lots of work. And then anytime that we can connect along this route during our live events, we will connect with them and we will, see what they're up to, how the sailing's going, and things like that. I have a couple little updates here. So here's a little picture here. They are getting ready for Christmas. They have ornaments around the ship. They have a Christmas tree set up over next to kind of the little lounge area. And then here's a video from yesterday. The weather was pretty wild yesterday. If you look at this video, you can see that the ship is leaning heavily, pushed by the wind. They've got the nets up for a little protection if you're on deck. Water coming right over the top of the rails. So I think you can imagine that some of the passengers who maybe aren't used to this kind of sailing, they are having a bit of a rough go. A few people are feeling a little bit of seasickness on board the Oosterschelde right now. I'm going to come back from that screen share now, and we are going to spend a little time. So last night we had our last event for classrooms in Australia and New Zealand, and that's when we can connect live with the ship, because right now everybody's sleeping. It is, let's see if I do the math quick, 9 to 9, 12 hours, another 6 on top of that. It's 2 in the morning right now where they are. So they are sleeping. But I connected with Josh, one of our camera operators, last night, and we recorded a little update for our classroom. So I'm going to share that video update right now. Just give me a second, and you should see it start to play. This is Josh and I hanging out last night. A little update of what's happening. Hey, Josh, how are you?
Hey, Joe, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, good. It looks like you're already in the festive spirit for us today. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I've been waiting for this for a long time.
Excellent. Well, you are pretty incredible, Josh. You have been on the ship quite a bit off and on since it departed. I caught up with you in Australia, which was great to see you and spend a little time with you.
Yeah.
Since then, you've had Darwin Leader Project in Tasmania, and now you are making your way to New Zealand. And I think you said tomorrow you're going to kind of check in. I think everybody will kind of get their papers stamped, and then you'll make your way up the coast.
Yep. So we arrive in a little place called Bluff tomorrow morning, I think, which is right on the tip of the South Island of New Zealand. And then we'll clear customs there, which is really nice because then that gives us the chance to spend the next week just cruising around, stopping off at some different islands and some different bays along the way before we need to be in Christchurch on the 26th.
All right, there we go. So how's this leg been so far? I know Yeah, I was surprised when I looked at the map today to see how far you guys had made it. What's the sailing been like?
We've had it all. We've had it all except a nice calm day. So we've had no wind but big swell, lots of wind and lots of swell. So it's been wet and wild. We've been rocking and rolling the whole time basically. But yesterday was a particularly interesting day. Really, really strong winds, big waves, as you saw in that video. You couldn't step outside without getting absolutely drenched immediately. It wasn't even raining, but just because of the sea spray firing over the boat, it was intense but fun.
Yeah. Any wildlife on the journey so far, or has it been too rough to
lots
be on
of
deck? Yeah.
No, lots of birds, lots of nice birds. We've had some painted petrels, which I know Grant is excited about, following the boat for the last few hours, and lots of albatross flying around as well, which is nice to see.
Yeah.
I think there were some dolphins at the beginning of the voyage, but I was still in adjustment mode when they showed up, so I didn't see them myself. I was in bed.
All right, gotcha. Is Grant back on board now, or is he catching up later?
No, Grant is somewhere. I think he might be in his cabin filling out his bird logs or something, but he's around, so he's doing his bird counts every day.
Yep. Cool. Well, I'll just remind people as well that if you visit DARWIN200.com and you use the map, there's a special button you can click. It's a little bird symbol, and it will kind of highlight areas of the map, and you can see some of the bird lists that Grant's been filling out and adding as the ship goes on. So you can see some of the sightings that they've had on board the Darwin 200. Awesome. Well, what's the plan? You're going to make a few stops along the way up the coast of New Zealand, and then I guess Christmas on board. You guys planning a little celebration?
Yep, hopefully we'll be on anchor for Christmas. Last Christmas we were stuck in the middle of some pretty intense weather, so Christmas was cancelled last year. We had it a few days late, but hopefully we'll find a nice bay somewhere where we can drop anchor and have a nice chill Christmas. And then the guests will disembark on the 27th, but some come back. We've got a handful of guests on this leg that are getting their sea legs ready for the Cape Horn voyage, the 7-week one. So most are getting off and going their own way. Some are spending the New Year in New Zealand and then getting back on board on the 2nd.
All right. And then Josh, so you get a little time off the ship after Christchurch. What are your plans for the coming weeks before you're back on?
So I'm going to...
I think we had a little pause with the connectivity, but usually the Starlink... Oh, I think we got Josh back.
Yeah. Where did I stop? What do I need to say again?
You were just about to start, and then we lost you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I've got a car rented. So I'm going to hang out in the South Island of New Zealand for a couple of weeks until the 18th, I think, and then I actually get to go home for a couple of weeks, which is nice. I haven't been home since June, so I'll get to catch up with some friends and family, and then out to the Falklands to get ready to do the Falklands to Cape Town leg, which I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, that is going to be an awesome leg. So Falklands, already an amazing place. Maybe Tristan da Cunha if the weather allows, which is pretty much the most remote inhabited island on the planet. South Georgia, which should be a penguin fest. It should be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I'm super excited for South Georgia.
Yeah, and then wrapping up in Cape Town in Africa. That's going to be pretty good. That's a pretty good leg.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be cold and it's going to be rough weather, but I think it's going to be worth it when I'm stood on the Salisbury Plains in South Georgia with 200,000 penguins around me.
Yeah, well, you have to tell. Well, obviously, we'll steal you for some world's most exciting classroom events. You have to tell me all about it when I catch up with you in Cape Town.
Yep, definitely. I'll have lots of pictures to show you.
All right. Well, Josh, before we let you go, I hope you have a great holiday season. Say hey to the crew. Say hi to Grant.
Thank you.
Say hi to Riley. He's our Explorers Club researcher on board on this leg of the journey. And if you're renting a car, I hope you get out to the fjords, Milford Sound, and all along the coast are pretty incredible.
Yeah, I'm definitely planning on doing that. And also doing some penguin hunting as well. I want to go and find some little penguins and some yellow-eyed penguins.
Excellent. Good stuff. Otago Peninsula, where you're heading, is a great spot. That's where I saw the yellow-eyed. So I think you'll pull it off. All right.
Great. Thanks a lot, Joe. Well, happy Christmas. Have a great New Year. And I'll catch up with you in 2025.
All right, sounds great, Josh. Great to see you.
All the best. Bye.
See ya. Okay, so there we go. That's where the ship is right now. They are in New Zealand. They're going to take their time making their way up the coast to Christchurch, maybe a stop or two along the way. Christmas, maybe in a nice quiet bay. New Year's in New Zealand. And then the 7-week journey begins. 2025, January 2nd. It should be pretty intense. Tom, one of our other camera operators who's on a lot of the legs, he's going to try and make a little documentary looking at the 7 weeks of the crew, of the passengers as they cross the Pacific Ocean. So hopefully we'll get to play segments of that during some future World's Most Exciting Classroom events. Now we have some live action for you today. We're going to have a little fun with the National Marine Aquarium in Plymouth with the Ocean Conservation Trust. I know we have Emily backstage waiting for us. I think Becky might be there helping out with the camera as well. We have had a lot of great events with OCT from the aquarium, and I think today will be great as well. So let's bring Emily in live with us right now. Hey, Emily, how are you?
Hello, hello, hello. Thanks so much for having us, guys. As we just said, my name is Emily. I'm the National Marine Park Engagement Coordinator here at the National Marine Aquarium in Plymouth in the UK. And we've also got Bex behind the camera as well. Nice thumbs up from Bex there.
Emily, I want to stop you for just a second because I have the video for you ready to go. And while we were watching Josh's video, I found a program online. I have the slides for you when you're ready for them as well to play the game.
Perfect. Amazing. So we're ready to go? Perfect. So, as you all know, we are in the run-up to Christmas, or Fishmas, that we like to call it here at the aquarium. So we've got some fun games for you guys to play today, and some really fun facts for you guys to learn about. Obviously, respect, not everyone celebrates Christmas, but even if you don't worry, you're going to learn all about some amazing fish that live all over the world. So, our game we're going to play throughout is called Real or Not Real. And if you haven't sussed it out already, we're going to be guessing some real or not real fish. And these ones have some very fun, festive names. So the first round of Real or No Real is a Christmas Island crab or a Christmas pudding starfish. I think we've also got this on a slide. That's ready to go. Perfect. So have a little discussion with the person next to you, see what you think, and I'll give you the answer in a couple of seconds. So Christmas Island crab or Christmas pudding starfish. Just the mention of a Christmas pudding is making me a little bit hungry. Okay, so the real festive animal is called the Christmas Island crab. So well done if you guys got that right. Very well done. Now, Christmas Island crabs, they live on, funnily enough, Christmas Island, and they're a really brilliant festive red colour as well, which is really, really cool. Have we got the photo as well? Amazing, so you can see what they look like. They're really, really fun. They're the ones that you see lots of videos of, scuttling along the roads to get to the beaches, so they can go and have lots of fun in the sea. Now, for you guys today to learn some more about crabs, we have got the crustacean station. So, Bex, if you can just come on over with me here to the crustacean station. And we have got some lovely things for you to learn about here. Now, you might use the word sort of crab and crustacean interchangeably. So if you're not sure what that means, crabs belong to a class called crustacea, which sometimes gets elongated to crustacean. And that includes crabs and lobsters and shrimps and those sort of guys. They tend to have about 10 legs, including their claws, and they tend to have a hard shell, and they're a little bit snippy sometimes. So what we have here is we have the molts from some of the crustaceans. So you might have been on a beach before and thought you might have found a dead crab or a lobster, and you might have been a little bit sad. But fear not, this might not be a dead crab or lobster. It might just be its molt. So depending on the species, they molt or shed their shell every year or every couple of years, depends on their size. So they completely shed their shell whole, and they're a little bit soft for a while afterwards. And then they toughen up again when they're a little bit bigger. Now, edible crabs, that's a really popular crab we have here in the UK. They grow about 3 times the size before from when they're a little bit smaller, before they last molted. So let's take a look at some of the species here. So this one here is the molt of a hermit crab. And I'm just going to take the shell off a second so you can see what it looks like here. Now you can see there's actually not much of the hermit crab there when we take off the shell. And that's because if we found the owner of this hermit crab that's out in the sea at the moment, we would notice that that part, the little butt of the hermit crab, is actually really soft. It's not hard like the rest of the crab, because the soft part needs to be able to wiggle into these really, really tight shells. So this shell doesn't actually originally belong to the hermit crab. It will probably belong to some kind of sea snail. And then when the sea snail dies and it leaves the shell behind, the hermit crab moves on in, tucks the little squidgy bit inside, and they make it their home. And then as they get bigger, as they molt each time, they'll then find different shells for it to live on throughout its life. They'll find bigger and bigger shells. And sometimes they just swap them if they fancy. Sometimes they get a little bored of their shell. It's like them shopping for some new clothes. Now this next one is my favourite. This is a molt from Raoul, who is a European lobster that lives here at the aquarium. Now I'm not sure if, yeah, you can definitely see it on camera. Now this molt is a bit of a strange purpley colour. Now here in the UK, we get a lot of people believe that lobsters are red, which isn't true at all. In the UK, all of our lobsters are blue, which is really, really cool. It's because in all of the cartoons, all the lobsters are red, so we all think they're red, but they're actually a lovely blue colour. Now, when they molt, or if they're cooked, they start to turn red. So the cooking really speeds up the red thing. But when it's just a molt, it takes years and years and years to slowly turn red. So that's why Raoul's molt is a bit of a purpley colour at the moment. Now, the chemical that turns them red is also the same chemical in flamingos that turns them pink, because they eat the little shrimp, and shrimps are crustaceans. So that's what makes flamingos pink as well. Now, this is a very festive molt because Raoul actually malted this on Christmas Day. So he unwrapped himself as a Christmas present. How lovely is that? Now this one is very cool as well. This is a spider crab. Now I know we use the term spider crab for quite a few different crabs all over the world. I know some people tend to think of those really long-leggedy fellas, the Japanese spider crabs, which are also very cool. But these are our local spider crabs we get here in the UK, and they have a very, very bumpy carapace here. This is what we use to describe this sort of area of the crab here, their main part. And that's because they love to stick lots of seaweed on them. They hope that algae grows on them so they can help camouflage in the seabed. And we're going to be learning a little bit about camouflage later with a very fun game. Now, spider crabs are called spider crabs because they are very, very good climbers. Now, what direction do most crabs move in? A lot of people would say they move from side to side, don't they? But spider crabs can move in any direction they want. They've got such good legs that they can climb here, there, and everywhere, just like a spider. So that's why we tend to call them spider crabs. They do also have another name. Some people call them Cornish crabs as well, because we get a lot of them down in Cornwall. Now this is our final one here, and I think this is very, very cool. I'm sure some of you guys are excited to see this one. This is a horseshoe crab. Now I'm sure you can understand why they call it a horseshoe crab, because it looks exactly like a horseshoe. Now I'm just going to pick this up so you guys can see the underside. I'm going to take this little bit off here. Can you see all of the legs there? How cool is that? So that's what I mean when I say they shed their shell whole. They literally do. It all comes off in one go. And sometimes, if they're feeling a little bit peckish, they'll eat the molt afterwards as an extra bit of nutrition. How gross is that? Now, I have tricked you a little bit with the horseshoe crab, because although they're called horseshoe crabs, they're not true crabs. And they're not true crustaceans. How confusing. So horseshoe crabs, they are more closely related to spiders. So they belong to a group of arthropods, which is very, very cool if you ask me. Now, we're going to move on to our next part of real or no real. So can we get the next real or no real slide up, please? So, the next festive animals that you are going to decide if they are real or not real is the mistletoe starfish or the stargazer fish? Have a little talk to your partner next to you, see if you can guess what it is.
What I can do too is I can click on a couple classrooms. We can have them shout out if they think.
Amazing. So the mistletoe seahorse or the stargazer fish?
All right, let's try Madame Auger's crew. Which one do you think is real, the shrimp or the fish?
Two.
The fish.
So number 2, the fish. Okay. How about our 4 5s in Lightborn? Which one do you think is real? Okay. Mr. Hancock, what do you think?
We're saying fish as well, the stargazer.
Okay. Everyone online is going fish.
Well, guys, you are absolutely right. It is the stargazer fish. Now, if you have not seen these before, I would definitely recommend having a little Google of them. But I think we have managed to get it up on the screen. But I recommend Googling them even more. I love looking up photos of stargazer fish. They are really, really funny looking. And I think you can maybe understand why they're called that, because they love to burrow themselves in the sand and they look right up, like they're looking at the stars. I looked so hard then, I made my hat fall off. So, stargazer fish, they love to do something called camouflaging. Now, I'm sure you guys have heard about what that is before, but in case we've got anyone that doesn't, it's when an animal adapts to blend into its surroundings so it can't be found. So, we're going to have a bit of a camouflage game now. So we have some staff members at the aquarium that have decided to camouflage themselves around the building. So we've got a couple of clips for you to watch, and I'd love you guys to shout out when in the video you think you've spotted them. At the end of each clip, they'll reveal themselves and they'll say hello, so you'll get the answer straight away. So if we want to get started on that video, that would be amazing. See if you can spot them.
Jenny's one's my favourite.
All right, guys, I hope you had loads of fun playing that game. Almost as much fun as we had making it. I'm sure you all did very, very well. So camouflaging, loads of animals use this in the sea to help hide themselves among all the seagrass and the coral reefs. But some use the water itself to camouflage. What? So this is called counter shading. And I guarantee that some of your favourite animals in the sea use this. So this is when one half of the animal is one colour and the other half is a different colour. Now, a great example of this are penguins. So penguins, they have a lovely white tummy and the rest of them is normally a jet black. Now that is so if anything that wants to eat a penguin is swimming underneath them and they look up at the top of the sea with all of the sunlight, they blend in with the brightness of the sky. But if they're trying to hunt for a penguin above them, they're going to blend in with the darkness of the depths of the ocean, so you won't be able to see them. Now, some other animals have this as well. So sharks, they will use counter shading as well. They tend to have a lighter tummy and more of a darker back as well. So it works for both prey and predators to help them. So see if you can see another animal, think of an animal on land even, that might use something like counter shading or another really cool form of camouflage. Now, our last real or not real is, we get slide up, Whoa, perfect. It is a snowflake moray eel or an igloo pufferfish. Have a little chat with your partner, see what you think.
All right, let's check in with our crews and see what they think. What do you think, Lightborn? Mr. Hancock's crew, what do you guys think?
Igloo pufferfish so far.
Igloo pufferfish. Okay, fair enough. And Madame Oliver's crew, what do you guys think? Snowflake eel. All right.
All right, amazing. So the answer was a snowflake moray eel. But really well done to guys who guessed igloo pufferfish as well, because I've got to say, some pufferfish, they're so big and round, they look exactly like an igloo. Some pufferfish have some really cool names as well. There's a stars and stripes pufferfish, which I think is pretty cool. Are we looking at the snowflake moray right now? Perfect. So snowflake moray eels are very, very special. They're one of the only types of eel that jump out of the water to catch their prey. We have 2 snowflake moray eels at our aquarium, and they are called T and Rex. So together, they make T-Rex, and I think they're really, really friendly. Now, a lot of people would say Christmas is about spending time with your loved ones, your friends and your family. So eels are really, really friendly, right? So who are they friends with? Now, of course, some eels, they love to snuggle together under rocks and have a little nap together. But what if I told you that some eels are best friends with groupers? So groupers, if you didn't know about them, they're huge, huge, big fish. They're big and they're bulky. A lot of them are normally a grey colour, and they have decided to be best friends with giant moray eels. So what groupers will do is they'll remember where the moray eels live on the reef. They'll swim up to their best friend's house, and they both look at each other and they nod at each other. And that means they're ready to go on a little day out together. So the eel will swim out onto the reef with the grouper, and the grouper spots the food for them. They sort of point it a little bit with their fin, they nod in the direction of the food, and the eel swims into the reef where the grouper can't reach, and it flushes all the food out, and they have a little snack together. So they literally go out together for lunch. How cute is that? Now, this is something we call a symbiotic relationship, and we can find this all over the ocean. You can also find that between eels as well and little cleaner wrasse. You can find it between clownfish and anemones. So there are loads of fish and other sea animals in the ocean that are absolute best friends, which I think is really, really cute. Now, it can be quite easy in the winter to sort of forget a little bit about the ocean. You're snuggled inside watching a movie with a hot chocolate or something like that. It can be very easy to forget that it's still out there, and we need to do a little bit to help it out. So here are some things that you can try over Christmas or the winter period to help out our ocean. So some of you might be wrapping some presents for some people over Christmas. Now, what you can try and do is check that your wrapping paper is recycled. The shiny ones, you can't recycle them, they're single use. So just keep it in mind when you're shopping for wrapping paper, or you're helping your adult shop for it as well. See if you can find the recycle logo on it instead. What you can also do is, if you're getting a present for someone, maybe you could try getting one in a charity shop, having one that's secondhand, or you could even try making it yourself. I know my absolute favourite presents are the ones that are made, because I just think so much love's been put into them. Now, in New Year's, you might be inspired to try out a new hobby. And often, we sometimes feel like we've got to get all the new equipment for it to make it the best thing ever. But make sure you like the hobby first, and see if maybe you've got friends or family that can lend you some new equipment to do it. So if you want to try climbing, maybe your friend has some climbing shoes that they could have to try it out. If you want to try swimming, see if you can maybe rent a wetsuit to try it out in the sea. But just keep in mind that you don't need to buy all the new stuff, and we can have some very kind actions for our ocean over this winter period. Thank you so much for joining us here today, guys. I hope you all have a lovely Fishmas or winter period. Thank you very much for having us again, and we'll see you later. Bye.
All right, Emily, thank you so much. Beck's behind the camera. Thank you so much. Classrooms, you want to get loud for a second? A big goodbye and thank you to Ocean Conservation Trust at the National Marine Aquarium. Thanks for hanging out with us.
I wish you were going louder.
All right. There we go. Huge shout out to Emily and Becky. We always love having them hang out with us. Now, we still have some time in the world's most exciting classroom event, so I'm going to put it to a vote what we do next. Last night, we had a guest join us from New Zealand. Her name was Hamina, and she talked about the parrot she studies. They're parrots that live in the mountain. They're called kias. They are super, super smart parrots, and they are kind of tricky. They like to play, and they do experiments to learn about how smart these parrots are. Are they happy? Why do they like to play so much? So that's one option. We could learn from Hamina about the kia that live in New Zealand. Option two, a few weeks ago when I was in Australia, I went to a koala hospital in Port Stephens, about 2 hours north of Sydney. And while I was there, we did a little live event, and I made a little summary of that event. So we can meet Sharon, who's their education specialist. We're going to tour around the koala hospital, and then we'll get to meet some of the patients. And there's a pretty cute baby koala called a Joey who comes in to the event as well. So I'll give classrooms a second. I'm going to visit you to get your vote for whether you want to learn about the kia today or the koalas. I can send the video, whatever we don't use, I can send to your classrooms as well. So you can watch it later if you have time. Those who are online, if you want to drop something into the comment section and let us know your vote, we can do that as well. I do see Mr. Hancock's class says option 2. I'll check in with Lightborn. What do you guys think? 2. Now, August class, what do you guys think? Koalas. Okay. I kind of had a feeling it was going to be koalas, so that's what we're going to do. The video is about 10 minutes long, and you'll see that although we can see really, really well, it looks slightly maybe not as clear as I look right now, and that's because it was a live event originally. So I took a little bit of pieces from this live event to make this koala hospital visit. After that, we'll wrap up with our curiosity of the week, our answer from last week's event. So here we go. Let me get the koala video ready for you. I think you're going to like them. Here it is. It should come up onto your screen about now.
My name is Sharon Egan, and I am the Education Coordinator for the Port Stephens Koala Hospital. Our koala hospital has been purposely built to look after the koala population in the area. And we not only look after koalas now, we look after all Australian wildlife. So we have 10 koalas in our sanctuary who won't be able to be released because of the injuries they've sustained. And we have koalas that are in the hospital at the moment that are being rehabilitated and being given medication, and then hopefully they'll go back out and live in the wild population that we have around here. The main threat that we have to koalas in Australia is habitat loss. And habitat loss can be because of the bushfires that we've had. It can be because of the development, forestry, roads, all of those things. So what we're trying to encourage some of the people around here when they're developing is to leave corridors for our animals. And road accidents are another problem that we have, especially in the breeding season. Our breeding season starts at around August and it goes till about February, can be a little bit later. And the boys are on the move usually to find a mate or a female. And younger koalas that have lived in their area are then pushed out of their area because they're at that mating stage. And so they need to move. And so when they're moving, they're travelling across the road. Where we live here is a beautiful coastal area. So we have a lot of visitors during that breeding season time. And so we're trying to encourage people that are locals, but also people that are visiting to be mindful, especially dusk and dawn, which is where the koalas are out and about. Another problem that we have is it's a lovely place to live, and people often bring their dogs with them, and we have dogs that affect koalas. 70 to 80% of dogs of koalas bitten by a dog are going to die because of different factors. Koalas don't have a lot of fat in their body, and so they get their organs pierced by the dog's teeth. The other thing is the bacteria in a dog's mouth can infect the koala, and they die a very slow, painful death, which is quite sad. Koalas are now an endangered species in Queensland, New South Wales and the ACT, and it is predicted that by 2050 there won't be any wild koalas left in those states. A lot of the reasons, like I said, habitat loss, fragmentation, all of those things. So if we don't look after koalas and we don't develop in a different way and look after our forests, then we won't have koalas in the wild by 2050. So Marie's our longest serving resident here at the Koala Sanctuary. She was hit by a car, and when the car hit her, it hit her head, and so she has suffered sight loss, and she also has a brain injury. So Marie came in as a young Joey, so she would have only been about 12 months old, and she co-lived with another female for a while to get her used to her enclosure. So she's been in this enclosure since 2019, and she has to live by herself, so it makes her life a lot easier being blind. She can still climb a tree, she knows her way around. One thing about Marie is she has a bit of a funny tummy, so we have to be very careful about the leaf that we provide. So she has her fresh leaf for the day. So every koala gets 2 branches per day. And she also has this other leaf here, and it's not actually eucalyptus, it's paper bark. And Marie came from a paper bark forest, so it's a food source that she eats. When it's in flowers, she loves to eat the flowers. They're like her lollies, and she'll search those out. But she'll sit here on the tarp because of her hearing is so good. She knows when the food is brought in, and it's an easy access for her to come to the tarp and get the best tips. All koalas love fresh tippy leaf because that's the juiciest and they have the best nutrients. So this is our main leafing shed. It's been purposely built so that the leaf stays as fresh as it can. We have to cut new leaf every 2 days. There are lots of rules that we have to follow. And today's leafing day. So this is just the leftover of the leaf until the new leafing truck comes in. All the leaf is labelled so that we know exactly what we're getting. And each koala gets 2 branches, large branches every day. And then we have some large boy koalas in particular, and they'll get an extra branch in the afternoon. Every koala, depending on where they come from, the food is chosen to supplement their right diet. So we've got some swamp mahoganies that are only grown on the coast. If a koala doesn't come from a coastal area and they're a little bit more inland, then they don't get that species because they're going back out into the wild. So for the authorities, we have to have 1,000 trees per koala in care to sustain them. So we have 30 koalas, including our 10 up in the sanctuary. So that's 30,000 trees to access because we need the tree to regenerate and we have to keep cutting carefully. We don't go and cut into the national parks because that's for our wild population. So we have our own plantations and we're doing planting all the time, and we'll actually plant on private landholding properties if they allow us to, and then we will go and cut if needed. And if the trees are getting to a certain height, we'll go and cut so that we can keep them to be sustainable. In this enclosure, we have 5 females. It's our breeding enclosure. Out of the 5 females, you have Veronica there, who's had ocular chlamydia, and her eyes have not really healed as well to be released. She still has watery eyes, so she needs constant attention. We also have Isla, and Isla was in one of our local fires, and her nail beds were affected, and so her nails haven't grown back properly. So if a koala cannot climb very well, then normally they get euthanized, but because we have the sanctuary here, she gets to live out her days here and we get to look after her. And she can still climb, she's doing well, but wouldn't survive in the wild, especially during breeding season. We also have 2 young females who were very young when they came in, orphaned, and then weren't able to learn how to live as wild koalas. So they're in here with the other girls. And we also have Miss Sunset. She's blind in one eye, and that was a result of chlamydia infection. So what we try and get the public to do is look out for nice clear eyes and nice clean bottoms for koalas if you're lucky enough to see one in the wild. If you have any concerns, to ring the hospital or a carer from your area so that we can get onto it. They need antibiotics and then they can go back to where they come from. So we have had a boy join the girls in this enclosure recently to try and help our breeding program, and we are happy to announce that we have our very first live bred baby. So Midnight Rose and Blinky were coupled together, and we have Barubi, the baby, and she's probably 9 months old now, and they're in an enclosure away from the public because it is our hope that one day Barubi would be able to be released into the wild. These are our new facilities. We've just had an extension to our hospital wing. So we have beautiful new area for our vet staff to work with. And this is our examination room. So animals are brought in here. They can do minor operations in the operating theatre, and then some of the other things like putting on a cast could happen at this station here. So when the public comes to visit, they can actually look through our viewing window if something's happening. One of the new additions that we have here is our new CT scan machine. This is our radiography room. So we have a beautiful new machine, and we have X-ray facilities as well as humidity cribs for animals that are really sick and need extra care. Next door we have our new operating theatre. So we've had lots of animals, so it's not just for koalas. We have birds that often need operations. So we have all of the facilities ready to go. So this is baby Lucy. Her mum Maud had a fractured arm, and we always bring mum and baby in together because Lucy's still having milk from her mum, although she's starting to live away from mum. So they're moving yards today. So these are our rescue baskets. We also use them for weighing, and they're going to move into this yard at the moment. So eventually Lucy will be taken away from her mum when it's time, and she'll learn to live on her own, and then she'll be released. So koalas don't come out of the pouch until they're about 6 months old, and then they'll start to appear at different times, and they have to be papped, which is eating partially digested food to get that gut flora into their tummy so they can deal with poisonous leaves. And then when they're about 12 months old, then mum says it's time to go. They might live nearby, but mum won't let her back into the pouch after a certain time. So you put the basket close to where we want her to go. 9 times out of 10, they'll go the other way. You go this way. Where's your head now? She's so cute. So this is mum. So you can still, she's got a bit of a cast on still. Her arm isn't healing as well as we thought. So they'll, as soon as they go in together, they'll couple up.
Do we know what happened to the arm?
Most likely car fracture. Often we find them when we don't have evidence unless somebody stops and says, I've hit a koala or I saw a koala hit. So sometimes they're fractured and the people just drive off. So, but yeah, so it's healing. She's had a pin in and the pin's been removed, and she's just got to gain strength on that arm, but it's not as easy because she has the baby on her. So she's got extra pressure on her arm. And then she's coming over and she'll just jump on her. She has knocked her off before, so. And Maudie's not as interested in her baby anymore because she's at that it's time to go stage. And then she'll eat from above her head.
Okay, so there we go. That was some clips from our visit to the Port Stephens Koala Hospital, about 2 hours north of Sydney. As you can see, they do a lot of important work because by 2050, that's not that far away, koalas in those states in Australia could be extinct. So it's really important that they're protected, their habitat's protected to give them the best chance for survival. All right, well, we are getting towards the end of our event today. There's 2 more things I want to do. It's going to take us about 2 minutes to go. Now, you heard our friends at the aquarium talk about groupers. And so we didn't get to see a picture of a grouper. So I have a really cool video I want to share with you from a scuba dive that I did in Australia. And I'll talk about the video while it's playing. It's about a 1-minute video. So give me 1 second to share this video and you'll get to see one of the groupers in the video. This is called a blue grouper. That's not what I intended to film in this clip. I was trying to film something called a wobbegong shark. And let me see, why isn't the video loading? Ah, here it is. Okay, let's try this now. So this is the shark. This is called a wobbegong. But every time I tried to take a video of the shark, I had this guy come in. This is a blue grouper. They call them the Labrador of the ocean because they're like big, curious puppy dogs. There, left again, so I'm getting comfortable, trying to take a little video of the shark. They're also called carpet shark because of the pattern that they have. And then there's our friend again, the blue grouper. And so it followed me for most of the dive, and I finally figured out what it really wanted. And you'll get to see what it really wanted in the next clip. So this is what it really wanted. Just like a Labrador, like a puppy dog, it wanted a little scratch. So it's a very curious, very friendly blue grouper. So you heard Emily talk about the relationship that the groupers have with the eels, where they almost have this friendship where they go across the reef together. So that's what a grouper looks like. You can see that one was pretty friendly, pretty inquisitive. All right, well, the last thing we have to do is take a look at the answer to last week's curiosity of the week. I have a little video clip here, and then we'll say goodbye for the holidays. So give me 1 second to make sure I grab the one called last, and here we go.
Welcome back, everyone. Last week, I asked you to try and identify this strange object here. Remember, it has this amazing pattern, this very intricate shape. Many of you sent in really interesting answers, and quite a few of you got it absolutely correct. This is a mushroom coral, also known as a plate coral, of the family Fungidae. You can certainly see how it gets that name. It does look like a fungus or a mushroom, certainly when you move it around. But believe it or not, this is actually an animal like all corals. In some species, it's a single coral polyp that feeds from the middle. In others, multiple coral polyps live together and form a colony. There are many species of mushroom corals, and they're often easy to spot in coral reefs around the world. Sadly, many species of mushroom corals have been over-collected because they're very popular in the marine aquarium industry, and many of them were harvested intensively from the wild. Believe it or not, this one is actually a replica. It's made out of resin. I have absolutely no idea how it's possible to make a model like this with such an incredibly intricate pattern made out of resin. But it definitely is, because the real ones are much heavier. Did you identify this correctly as a mushroom coral?
All right, so there we go. That was our curiosity from last week. Mushroom coral, Mrs. Paget's class. I'll be sending them a message later because they sent in the right answer. So I have an Amazon gift card for them. They'll be able to use it in their classroom when they get back from Christmas break. Well, I want to start out with a huge shout out to our classrooms. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with us. Thank you to those tuning in via YouTube, as well as our camera classrooms. A few of them had to duck out, but I do still have 2 backstage. So we'll say a quick hello to them. Thanks for hanging out with us today.
Absolutely.
Great. Well, I hope everybody has a great holiday season. I hope you get to have lots of fun with your friends and your family. Hopefully there's some presents mixed in there as well and some good food. We will be back with the world's most exciting classroom event, probably the 2nd week of January. We'll catch up with our crew as they're sailing across the ocean. We'll have guest speakers, experiments, and curiosities of the week. But until then, we have to say a big thank you to our sponsors, partners, our collaborators, without whom we wouldn't be doing any of this. Classroom events, sailing across the ocean, training young conservation leaders, and doing research on the ship. So that's where we're going to leave it. I hope everybody has a great holiday, and we will wrap up 2024. Thanks for hanging out, everyone.